afternoon. Welcome to At the Tap End. It's been a few weeks since I've done one of these. Probably no surprise with gas and electricity prices where they are. It's not as cheap to run the bath as it used to be. But I have an immense pleasure in welcoming to the Tap End today, Mr. Josh Gain. How are you, Josh?
Hiya, Lee. All good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good. Is this what you normally do on a Monday afternoon?
Yeah, just my regular appointment of meeting someone in the bath.
Yeah.
Standard.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, for those people who don't know who Josh is, who is Josh and how has he got to the Tap End today?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am the founder of 10x Managers, which is a peer community for managers and leaders who are looking to master their current management roles and are seeking to accelerate their career towards future leadership roles. So it's been obviously great to connect with you, Lee, over the last couple of weeks. You came on my podcast, I came onto your podcast, and it's been good to see what you're doing in the form of change making as well. So it's great to be here in the bath with you as well.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say it's great to be seeing what you're doing in the bath, but you didn't. You didn't. So I mean, this is I think this is probably the third or fourth conversation we've had, and it's progressed to the naked bath conversation, hasn't it? So I think things are going well. Who knows what's going to happen on the fifth conversation, Josh? Are you ready for that one?
I am looking forward to it, Lee.
So when you talk about community, and when you talk about, in fact, actually, 10x Managers, and we touched on this in the podcast, didn't we? So you managed to find the name 10x Managers. Why 10x Managers and not 10x Leaders?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think. So there is a difference between management and leadership, but I think the nuance between the two is actually smaller than most people give credit for. I think a lot of people think you're either a manager or a leader, and you start as a manager in kind of your first time management role, and then when you get to your director role, you're then a leader. I think it's actually a lot more nuanced than that. I think as soon as you are in charge of anyone, so you've got a direct report, you have a requirement to be both a manager and a leader. And depending on the role that you're going to be in, you're going to have either more management or more leadership, but you can't be one without the other. Or you can, but you'll probably be doing a disservice to what you actually could be able to do. So our community is more focused at the earlier stage manager. It's your kind of middle management, because I feel that's kind of an area that's fairly underserved in terms of development and training, particularly within organizations. But at the same time, the reason we called it managers was to try and open up this discussion about actually just because you are known as a manager doesn't mean you shouldn't be a leader as well.
Yes, I think it's really powerful. We deliver a course, and part of that course we talk about managing and leading, and the strapline for it is you manage things, you lead people, and so that's how we differentiate the two things and try to get people to go, okay, well, what things do they need to manage in their role, and how can they lead people in the role? Because I think you're dead right. Every single management or leadership position, you need to do both things. It's not one or the other. It's just the job title sometimes defines it rather than the roles and responsibilities. So no, I love that. When you talk about community, you've got a community. Why did you decide to build a community to solve this problem and nothing else?
Yeah, I think mainly it was based on the experience that I'd had. So I went into my first management role when I was working at Gartner, went into a sales manager role, had 8 direct reports. And I was one of these managers that was very ambitious. I wanted to get through my career. I wanted to get to that next role. And I always had a mind on what do I actually need to develop and grow and improve on to be ready for that next place. And there's no shortage of training in this world. There's so much information and insight that you can get access to. But I always felt that the way that you actually develop, which is obviously the end goal rather than just be trained, is to go away and experience those ideas and those insights and put them into practice in the real world. It's to reflect on those experiences that you are having and then ultimately come to some conclusions that you can then run with and turn into your processes and the ways that you're going to manage and lead. And the way that I found I actually developed myself is that period of where I'm experimenting, where I'm reflecting, was always most effective when I was working with other people. So whether that was working with mentors or working with my direct manager or people on the same level as me, and we were experiencing these new things together, it was that social discussion. It was the backwards and forwards of ideas. It was a challenging each other's thoughts around things that really helped the acceleration of my development in that period. And I built that community for myself through my network and through mentors and those sorts of things. And I feel like that's what is missing in most organization and corporate training programs is they give you the insights, they give you the information, but don't give you the infrastructure to help you really develop and get better.
Yeah, I completely resonate. There's so many people go on training courses or read books and nothing changes afterwards. So I guess there's a bit of accountability as well. And I guess the conversation helps cement some of the learning. One thing that I found this past week, and reiterated back to me this past week, is I delivered a session last week, and we got into a debate or a conversation about language and how the word change for some people was positive and for some people was negative. The word problems for some people positive and some people negative. High performing team. Some people had a different reference point than others for a high performing team and what it actually means. And I guess to make all of these things real, you've got to have alignment of definition of the words. And just to build on that, I had a conversation with a leader, I think on Thursday or Friday last week, and he said he wants his teams to be proactive. And I was like, well, what does that mean? When do you want them to be proactive, and how can they be proactive? And does the environment support them being proactive as well? Because I find we're all guilty of using words and expecting people to know what we mean by them. So I guess, in fact, actually, anything that I've just said there, any of that, them random, I think the water might be a little bit too warm for me today. But anything that I've just said there that has come out in your community or any of your own lessons?
Yeah, no, definitely. So I think one thing that particularly resonated with what you said there is when we discuss about building culture as a leader and as a manager, and how we actually enable people to act in certain ways and encourage people to act in certain ways. And I think one of the big things that most organizations and most corporations do is they think, right, we want to change the culture. Let's start plastering these big words on posters and on walls and all those sorts of things, and then we'll just have that culture and that will happen. And obviously, one thing that we're uncovering through the community and the discussion that we're having in terms of creating culture is the most effective way to actually build culture is through the direct managers of the teams that you're operating within. And it is, of course, about the words that you say, and it's about the things that you're asking people to do of them. But more importantly, it's about leading from the front in terms of those values. It's actually living them every day. It's enacting them every day as yourself. And actually, culture is one of those things that is very, very slow to build, but can be destroyed really quickly. So just in one act, if a leader who have people looking up to them goes against one of these values, it shows them that those values aren't important to the organization and gives everybody else the permission to no longer live by them. So it's all about not just saying this is what you should do, but living it every single day, which encourages people to then act in the same vein around you as well.
Yeah, love that. When we deliver change, often people think that change needs to be bottom up, but you are dead right in what you're saying. Things have to be top down as well. The expectation, the role model, and the vision and the direction is top down, but maybe the development of the solution and the ideas and the thoughts come bottom up, and it's about finding that balance. And I think some things that people do wrongly is they expect change to be for everybody else and not themselves. But what you've just articulated there beautifully is it's all about role modeling, and we have to lead from the front and demonstrate what good looks like as well. Do you classify yourself as a leader, a manager, both? What do you call yourself?
It's a good question. So we've got a very small team at 10x. So internally, I would say I was a manager and leader of a very small team. There's 4 of us here at the moment. But then I would also say, as a community, I think there's 2 ways of looking at it. I think you could class me/us as 10x managers as the manager and leader of the community. But I do prefer to use the reference of facilitator. So again, I think there is obviously in terms of the values that we're trying to promote within 10x managers, we need to live by them and show them. So it's being transparent, it's being open, it's being honest, it's also treating people with respect. We have to do that to encourage the rest of the community to do that. But just as you said there, it's got to be both top down and bottom up. What we're trying to do is facilitate those sorts of discussions to happen amongst the community as well. So yeah, it's a good question. I don't really know where I put myself in there.
Yeah, I think it depends. I think this is what a lot of people have that challenge with, about, because it's situational, isn't it? It depends upon what you're trying to achieve. I think of you as a catalyst, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to create all of the conversation, the debate, the discussion, the learning for other people, and then bringing people together. And so I see you as the catalyst in that community. And we spoke on the podcast about the most difficult thing to do in any community, whether that's a physical or a virtual one, is to get engagement and get people speaking openly and honestly. And yeah, I see you as that catalyst to do that. And I guess, what's the biggest thing that you've learned since starting the 10x manager community?
Yeah, good question. I would say probably the biggest thing that I've learned, and again, it kind of ties into both. It's since starting the 10x community, but also since running my own business as well, which is obviously the first time that I've done this as well. It's probably patience. It's probably that good things take a long time to happen, and it involves a lot of moving parts and a lot of ingredients to go in together and to all come together at the same time to actually make good things happen. And as much as I want to will things to go quicker and faster and get bigger and all these sorts of things, it's looking back, it's been kind of the periods where maybe we've rushed things, where we haven't quite got the results that we wanted to do. And actually, by having that little bit more patience, spend that little bit more time on things, we create much better things.
How have you taught yourself to be more patient? Because you're quite a driven individual. Entrepreneurial was the word that came across in the podcast, and then I guess patience is something that maybe in conflict with the innovative Josh. So how have you taught yourself to be more patient?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think it's still something that I'm still working on and I'm still battling with, because you're right. I think my natural instinct is, let's go faster, let's do more, let's build more stuff and all those sorts of things. And that patience is something that doesn't come naturally to me. I think I intentionally spend time reflecting and thinking about the past. So normally once a week, I'll block out half an hour and I'll just review what I've done through my diary and through my calendar each week, and think about the things that, well, what did I do last week that actually I probably just shouldn't have done? Or what did I do last week that we could have done better? And I do have that kind of deliberate reflection time and make sure I do have that thinking time to pull out these sorts of things and these sorts of learnings about things that I can do better for the future. And I think patience is one of those that comes out. It's sometimes I look back at that week and we've crammed 55 things into the week and done all of them okay. Whereas actually, if we'd focused in on the 5 most important things and dedicated a day to each of them, we could have done all of those most important things really well, and they'd have had a much bigger impact than they did.
Yeah, completely. Talking about impact, what impact do you think you've made to the members in the community? Have you had any feedback, or what are they getting from the 10x Manager community?
Yeah, definitely. And it's one of those that I love having these conversations. So I try and every week speak to at least 5 to 10 members of the community, just to understand, one, what have we helped them with so far? But obviously more important for me in those conversations is, what can we do to help you better in the future? But I do enjoy hearing about how we've helped people. So it's things like we've helped people prepare for interviews, and we've given them insights that they didn't have before, that they then use within their interviews, that then use to secure promotions. We've then got some of our managers that are rolling out culture change programs using some of the insights that we've got from the community. So we're really helping make material impact in the business. And then particularly within our earlier career managers, we spoke about this briefly on the last podcast as well, but it's around imposter syndrome. It's lots of people are coming into these roles probably not with enough training that they needed to get started. They're not feeling confident. They've suddenly got loads of responsibility and feel quite overwhelmed. And by using our frameworks, by using the community, by speaking to people around them, it's given them the confidence to actually go and do things that they didn't think they were able to do. And so that they're just some of those sorts of conversations that we see.
Amazing. So just talk about the community. How does it work at the minute? Because I know you've got like there's a free bit of it, and then there's a more premium part of it. So if somebody was interested in the 10x Manager community, what do they get, and what do they get it for?
Yeah, no, good question. So in the most simple form, the core community aspect that we have is completely free, and we'll always leave it free as well. So you can come to 10xmanager.com, you can sign up for the free community membership, and essentially it gets you access to the peer-to-peer community, so you can post and speak and interact with everybody else in the community. And then you also get access to our Manager Masterclass archive library. So each week we interview a different manager or leader or expert from the community on a specialist topic, and we present back the interview and some resources and some written learning summaries around that particular area of expertise. So that's always free, and it always will be. The way that we've positioned our pro membership is we're taking the time to curate the insights from the community. So getting access to that core community is great. All the insights are there, and you get access to everything that we have in there as well. But obviously, it takes quite a long time to cut through all of the communication, all the conversations that are happening, all of the interviews that we're doing. If you're willing to invest that time, you can go and find out everything there is to know in our pro membership as well. But what we're doing in our pro membership is creating more tailored products that enable people to get to the heart of the information fast. So, for example, we've got our digital academy within the pro membership, which looks at the 12 key initiatives of high performance management, and then goes into each one of those initiatives. And what we've done is, by taking the manager masterclasses, we've pulled out the key areas and the key insights that enable people to actually go and act on those initiatives in the best way forward. So we've got a guide to performance management that we facilitate, and people can learn through the digital academy. And then we've got hiring, onboarding, creating culture, making change as all initiatives within there as well. But then we also have some more, there's more features to the pro memberships. You've got things like our live events. So we hold weekly community roundtables and weekly live events where people can come and meet other people in the community as well. We've got our personalized development feed, so you can actually target which are the areas that you're looking to develop and grow and improve on, and that will automatically pull any insight from the community into your personalized development feed, so you can get access to those insights very quickly as well. So there's loads of stuff in there, and we've also got a 7-day free trial on the pro membership as well, so people can just dive in and see whether it's for them before they commit anything.
Amazing. So there is so much in there, and I guess, how do you balance there being so much in there already with this relentless value delivering that you're offering? So every single week the masterclasses, every single week the interviews and the conversations. Do you have a pipeline of loads of conversations lined up? How do you know what you need to talk about? And I guess how do you balance that?
Yeah, it's definitely tough. I think at the end of the day, the reason we want to be so consistent with new content is because I think one of the common misconceptions of most management and most management training at kind of the corporate level is that it's static. Is most organizations are teaching their manage to manage in the way that they were teaching them 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. And at the end of the day, just over the last 3 years with COVID and remote working and all these sorts of things, management leadership isn't static. You always have to be on the ball. You always have to be understanding what is working for other people today and what are the improvements and innovations that are happening in management and leadership. And if you can have quick access to those insights and then you can iterate them and improve them for your personal situation, that's going to enable you to be the best manager and leader you can be. So what we're doing is we're making sure we've got that big, long pipeline of conversations and new values and new insights and new perspectives coming into the community. And quite honestly, what we're doing is we're looking at what the community is talking about, what are the questions that they've got, what are the challenges that they're facing, and making sure we're bringing in people and interviewing people on those areas so they can add value to the community. That's kind of how we're being steered of where to go. And then our job is, obviously for the pro members, is we need to cut through all of the noise and fluff that comes with all of these new insights and information as well, and pull out the core insights that enable them to improve. And that's the value we add in the pro membership.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Do you see and this is probably a really unfair question, but do you see yourself ever developing to be more of a done for you experience? So like you can offer value, then you can offer training and support and community and conversation, but some organizations and people might need somebody to be sat alongside them at a point in time with helping them do a particular task. Do you see 10x managers consulting at any point or anything along those lines to kind of, I guess, to further offer support?
Yeah, no, I do. I think so. Actually, if we pull back from what 10x managers is today, obviously we're adding a lot of value to managers and we're building the community there. But essentially, what we are a methodology of development. And that's at the end of the day all we are. It's our core principle is that learning and development should be driven through community. And essentially what we're helping people do at 10x Managers is create a big external community of managers and leaders that help them learn and develop. What I actually think that should happen is that one of my biggest bugbears of when I was on the receiving end of training is taking this insight and then thinking, right, but how does that actually work for me in my situation and in my context? Because I can't do that bit of it because we've got a rule that doesn't let us do it here. And I don't think that this bit will work for my team because it's not quite right. So what I actually think is that each company should have their own internal communities that enable then external expertise to come in and bring new insights, but can then be facilitated and grown and developed and personalized for the own internal communities within the organization. So actually what the long-term vision here is we're building this method of community and we're honing the methodology of building a people development community that we can then take to other organizations, and they can then take the best practices and the learnings of the 10x managers community. They can facilitate their own internal community that we can then pour our insights from the external community on top of. And then we can help them customize and develop and iterate and make sure that everything that their internal managers and leaders get in access to is personalized for their organization. So then we're not just teaching them how to be managers, but we're teaching them how to be managers within their own organization. So the long-term vision is definitely to add consulting to this as well, making sure there's personalization for each organization.
I love that. Really powerful. Really powerful. And if people want to know more about 10x Managers, where would they go? What would they do? What would they find?
Yeah, so 10xmanagers.com. Sign up for the free community, get involved in some of the discussion there. Take advantage of the 7-day free trial as well and see whether there's anything there that makes sense for you. And then other than that, connect with me on LinkedIn as well, where I post lots of new insights and information for free as well, without even being a member, just from our interviews. And have a discussion with me. I'd love to have a chat with anyone.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Josh. I just want to say thank you so much for joining me in the bath today, and well done for keeping a straight face whilst I was washing myself with the chicken as well. Very, very well done. Honestly, I think what you're doing, what you're bringing is of immense value and can definitely help the community that you are aiming and the population of people that you're aiming to support the most. So I think carry on doing what you're doing. Honestly, it's an amazing, amazing asset. Just keep doing what you're doing. What you having for your tea, Josh? Last time we spoke, you said you were having a giant hot dog from Costco. Did you have that? And what is it for tea tonight?
I did have that, and it wasn't as big as we thought it was going to be, Lee, when we had that discussion. So it was a little bit
always the case. Always the case.
and tonight I have absolutely no idea what I'm having yet. That's this evening's problem to deal with.
No problem. No problem. Honestly, Josh, I just want to say thank you so much for your time today. Good luck with everything you got going on, and I look forward to seeing it be whatever it will be.
That's great, Lee. Pleasure to join you in the bath today.
Cheers, Josh.